Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night Legacy, presented by Spellhold Games. My name is Eugene. Our layout is a little different this week. Due to rising COVID numbers, we all decided to take the week off from meeting in person. We're hoping to get back face to face games next week, but in the meantime, a few of us tried a game or two online. I'll only be posting this one video this week, so let's get right to it. Our two combatants this week are Jack on Witherbloom Storm and Eugene on Abzan Grief. Eugene has the play here, so let's get right into it. Starting with a Plains into an Evoked Grief, exiling Shriekmaw. This allows him to play Grief and have it come into the battlefield, at least getting the enter the battlefield effect of taking one non-land card out of his opponent's hands. He will have to sacrifice the Grief once this is resolved. Taking a Infernal Tutor here, leaving Cabal Ritual, Burning Wish, and Ponder in Jack's hand. Jack starting off with that Ponder, probably a good play. Getting to look at the top 3 cards of his library. If he likes them, can put them back in any order and then draw 1 card. No rush here. Eugene down to 3 cards. Grief kind of in a resource-intensive play, having to exile that card. But the advantage sometimes is that you can flicker the Grief in order to keep it in play and take 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. So must have not had the resources and something else to do in the meantime. Looks like it's a Marsh Flats pass. Jack into a Misty Rainforest, kind of contemplating his options. Pass it back. Quick look here, a second Marsh Flats, and that's another pass. Not a whole lot happening in the game so far. Abzan Grief, kind of an attrition deck, taking the cards that you need out of your hand and then slow beats, very similar to a Delver of Secrets strategy without permission. And the Storm deck winning through combo plays using things like Burning Wish and Cabal Ritual to gain a whole bunch of mana, find the cards that you need, and win off of Storm. Okay, it's a naturally casted Grief for 4 mana. Looks like he's got a Karakas there. All right, Jack responding with a fetch into something. Sitting, thinking on it for a second here. Looks like we got a Dark Ritual. So that's going to be 3 mana, 5 mana for an Ad Nauseam. So how Ad Nauseam works is Jack is going to exile cards or reveal cards from the top of his library and takes damage for each converted mana cost of each card. So 0 mana converted cards are basically free and lands are free. So he likes what he sees here with the Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Cabal Ritual, and another Lion's Eye Diamond. Pretty huge play there. So, oh yes, the Grief trigger will resolve, trying to decide between the Burning Wish and the Infernal Tutor. Decides to go for the Infernal Tutor. With this much mana on the field, it is hard-pressed for Jack to not have the win here. Pulling out a die to keep track of Storm. 1, 2, 3 spells cast so far. Counting for Threshold in the graveyard, that means 5 mana, down to 3, up to 5, so that's 8 mana. And we are casting the Burning Wish with that on the stack. Jack can crack the Lion's Eye Diamonds. When that happens, the Burning Wish will still be on the stack, but he will have access to 6 extra mana for cracking 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds. Jack grabbing Peer Through the Depths, Peer into the Abyss. I can't exactly remember the name of this card, but what it allows him to do is draw half of his deck and lose half of his life. So he's counting out the cards right now. I believe when we were playing this game, I believe he counted 41. So that's going to be 21 cards drawn, as it does round up on both of those numbers. Showing us all there's an Empty the Warrens. That could definitely win the game. Checking, there's a Past in Flames in there. There's all sorts of Lotus Petals to be cracked. Digging around for them. There's also a Witherbloom Apprentice. Witherbloom Apprentice, every time I believe it's a instant or sorcery is cast, the opponent will lose 1 life and you will gain 1 life. So when Empty the Warrens is played and copied, what is that, 11 times? That means that not only is he going to get 22 goblins, he is also going to drain his opponent for 11 life. Casting Past in Flames to cast Empty the Warrens again. That is a dramatic life swing, and that will be game 1. Picking it all up here, I believe that there is a little bit of dead time, so we are going to skip ahead in the video just a little bit here. To match 2. So with Eugene down a game, he is going to play first and hopefully a little bit stronger of an opener. All right, we're seeing a Once Upon a Time here. This can be cast for free if it is the first spell cast in the game. Allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your library and take either a creature or a land from among them. Got the scrub land into the Evoked Grief, but the Ephemerate will actually replace that trigger. It will allow the Grief to come back into play, and the Evoke trigger for the Grief that was in play is no longer in effect. So 2 Evoke triggers and gets to keep it in play. All right, so 2 Brainstorms gone. I believe Eugene went for the third, or the rebounded Ephemerate trigger, with Jack responding with a 3rd Brainstorm. So showing the cards here, it looks like Thoughtseize, Veil of Summer, and Dark Ritual, getting rid of the Thoughtseize. Eugene wants to protect the last 3 cards in his hand, 2 cards now. Because Grief was ephemerated, it could not attack that turn as it was a new creature coming into play. Going for a Stoneforge Mystic. Not a whole lot of gas on Jack's side, since we know that he could not actually even cast a Force of Will, since he didn't have another blue card at the time. So this Stoneforge does resolve, Cauldron Complete being the equipment chosen. Very, very good equipment. That is a 5/5 haste, trample, indestructible, and when it deals damage to a creature, it exiles that creature with a trigger. So a lot of relevant text on that card, and ends up being a huge swing in the opponent's, in the player's favor that gets to play it. All right, I think Eugene showed that he had a Surgical Extraction there too, and a Kaya's Guile to blow out the graveyard if anything went wrong. That was a very quick match too. Sometimes it happens that way. I think that's the way that the deck wants to play. Grief coming down as soon as possible, tearing apart the opponent's hand, making it so that they have nothing to do, while the Stoneforge Mystic backup comes in on turn 2, and you're hitting for 8 to 9 damage a turn as early as turn 3. So that worked out perfectly for Eugene there. And we are going to match 3. Once again, apologize for having to do the videos online. We are definitely hoping to get back in person next week, but we wanted to make sure that at least a little bit of content got out this week. So, starting out the game with a Thoughtseize on Jack's side. Okay, Calm Ball, Ephemerate, Surgical Extraction, and 2 Malakir Mire, which are basically either lands or flicker spells. Taking the Surgical Extraction, a good choice. Starting with a Malakir Mire. So this is a modal land that is a spell, but also a land. Comes into play tapped. Jack resolving a Ponder here. Card selection, always good. Blue decks, that's primarily the reason. That and Force of Will and Daze are the primary reasons that everybody loves to play blue. Very good cards in blue. Including to, but not limited to, Uro, the Titan's Wrath. All right. Second turn, going for the Windswept Heath. not a whole lot to play. I do know that Eugene wants to play that calm ball. His static ability states that every time an opponent casts a non-creature spell, they will lose 2 life, and the player with Kambal will gain 2 life, and that is per spell. So for somebody that's playing a Storm deck, that is quite a bad swing since you're trying to play as many spells as possible in a single turn. And if you play over, at this point, 9 spells in a turn, that'll simply be the game. So I think Jack is trying to avoid seeing that Kambal resolve. Or just win the game before Eugene can play it. That's also a very, very possible solution here. 2 mana for the Witherbloom Apprentice. So setting up for a next turn win if Eugene cannot deal with the Witherbloom, playing the Chain of Smog, simply deleting the opponent's life total by targeting yourself with Chain of Smog over 20 times. 3 mana for a Skyclave Apparition. This has an enter the battlefield effect of exiling a non-land permanent, and if the Skyclave leaves, then the opponent gets an illusion that is equal to the converted mana cost of the card that it was exiled. So getting rid of that Witherbloom Apprentice just to make sure that he does not die to the Chain of Smog combo. Looks like a... interesting. So picked out a Godless Shrine, brought it into play untapped, took 2 damage, and played that Comball. We can still see that an Ephemerate is open, so a spot removal spell will not get rid of Comball in this situation. So pretty good situation for Eugene. We will see what Jack does in the meantime here. Two damage beats with the Skyclave Apparition. Not really doing anything else with it, so makes sense. Even holding it back, it doesn't really matter, because if the creature was going to be killed anyways, the 2/2 was going to be made regardless. All right, Jack's starting off with a Lotus Petal, taking 2 damage, then casting the Veil of Summer to make himself hexproof from black or blue spells for the turn into a Burning Wish. He has now lost 6 life to do these 3 plays. I don't remember what is going to save him with a Burning Wish out of the side, especially with that backup. Oh, I do remember what he was looking for. He was looking for Massacre. Massacre would be a free spell that he could cast that... sorry about that. That would give all creatures in play -2/-2. But because the Kambal was a 2/3, he decided to pack it up, and that will be the end of the round. Thank you for sticking with us through this a little bit shaky of a recording, but we will be back next week with a better setup and hopefully an in-person and at the store rounds. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you next week.